You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options. Facebook.com/TheOptionsInsider or via questions at TheOptionsInsider.com.
Join us now for the expert source for inside information on the options markets. It's time for Options Insider Radio with your host, Mark Longo.
All right, everybody. That music means it is time once again for Options Insider Radio, the interview program here on the old network where we welcome on guests from throughout the world of options and derivatives and proceed to pick their brains for the benefit of you, the listener. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the ever-exciting, at least we hope so, Options Insider Radio Network. And I am pleased to be joined on the show today by a newcomer to the show and indeed to the network. He is Jim Downs, the CEO over there at Connamara Systems. Jim, welcome to the Options Insider Radio program.
Thanks, Mark. Glad to be here.
Jim, as we are wont to do with all of our first-timers here on the network, why don't you go ahead and give our audience a little bit of an overview of your background in the options and derivatives world and how you found your way to starting Connamara Systems.
Sure, Mark. I was a market maker for 17 years on the CBOE.
I won't hold that against you at all.
At the CBOE. Prior to that, I was an electrical engineer, worked for Honeywell, worked for a little organization outside D.C., Central Intelligence Agency, and then I worked for a consulting firm outside D.C. before becoming an options market maker. So I traded in stock options, and then finally the OEX opened, and we started trading the OEX, and finished my career in the options on the CBOE. In the SPX. I also was a member of the Board of Trade, so I traded, corn and some bonds. I traded corn mostly in the summer when the stock market usually cooled off, and kind of traded it for sport as a nice break, just to go and sling some futures around. So that's how I got into options and trading. But during that time, I was also writing all my own valuation programs using Black-Scholes and various models to value options. So I found out that I was a decent programmer in that regard, and then when I decided to leave the floor, I had some offers to be able to use that skill that I'd learned writing software for professionally within capital markets specifically. So the real skill I had, however, was what I learned on the floor about capital markets and about trading, about how exchanges work. I wasn't that great of a programmer, so I ended up hiring more programmers and started Connamara Systems at that time.
And you kind of mentioned the origins. I think we can probably glean a little bit about what it is you guys do. But for our audience who are not familiar with Connamara, what exactly do you guys do, Jim? So
Connamara Systems has been developing software for capital markets for the last 21 years. We're a firm of software engineers, and we're devoted exclusively to capital markets. So we build all sorts of bespoke software for our clients, risk management, algo trading, fixed connectivity, and then we also build exchanges, outright exchanges. Our clients are some of the biggest banks and brokerage firms on the street, down to smaller proprietary trading firms.
There we go. Now I want to get to the exchange thing is certainly different than what we've heard in here before. You can imagine we probably had a lot of vendors come through here over the years. But before we get into all that, the name is so atypical. I have to know, where does it come from? What are the origins of the Connamara Systems?
Well, the name itself is a little it's a little sappy, I suppose, is a region in Ireland where my wife and I spent our honeymoon.
There you go. If the wife is happy with the name, right, then I guess it's a good name.
It's a win.
Keep the wife happy.
It's a win.
And there you go. But, like I mentioned, we've had a lot of vendors come through here and talk about different aspects of the chain, whether it's the front end and their great GUI, or whether it's the back end and how they connect to that, or whether they do all of the things soup to nuts. So we've heard a lot of different things about it, but I've never had anyone sit in that chair before and tell me they can come in here and power an exchange. So let's start there, because that's kind of fascinating. I believe that's your new EP3 offering. Tell us about that and what exactly it does.
So EP3 actually is an evolution of 11 years of work that we've been doing at Connamara. So we started building, we had a client request of us to build a matching engine and an exchange platform for carbon credits. So it's Chicago Climate Exchange. So we took on that work, and we built a matching engine trading user interface in both Chinese and English, and released it to them. That was our first experience in building matching engines and exchanges. From there, it seemed like that every few months someone would call us with an idea where they wanted to bring price transparency and price discovery to some market that maybe did not have that. So it's really kind of off-the-wall sort of things that would come through our door, like bankruptcy claims, for example, or intellectual property rights. So we built a couple of those. Again, matching engines, build them one-off and deployed them for our clients. And then we got the call for someone who wanted to actually build a new futures exchange. So at that point, that's a whole different animal from a non-regulated exchange. There's certain core principles that the CFTC has that you have to pass from a technology point of view that we had to consider. So we built two more exchanges that actually did go through CFTC review. From that point, then after 11 years of doing this, we said, well, maybe we should actually build something, taking all this knowledge after 11 years, that we could release as a product and product size. And just to be clear, Mark, the Connamara Systems up to this point has been a services company. We build bespoke software for our customers, and this is really our first launch into a true product for us, which is kind of exciting to do.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, but I was just going to say that we built EP3 from the ground up, again, taking, blank sheet of paper. Let's re-engineer what an exchange should be and what we believe our customers are actually asking us for.
So you're currently powering then AFX, which is Richard Sandor's new venture there, and to recreate an American version of LIBOR.
Yeah, we're really excited about that one. That's really doing well, and that's our tech that's powering that. What's great about that project is that we at Connamara take a lot of pride in that, because what Richard's actually doing is really trying to help the small and medium-sized banks in this country that got just completely annihilated in the financial crisis, and then the regulations that got lopped on top of them, aside from replacing LIBOR. So there's kind of a dual purpose there that for Connamara is very, very proud and very, very fulfilling work for us.
It's interesting. If someone came into me and into the studio a few years ago and said they were going to offer, the infrastructure to power effectively an exchange, I would have said that's very interesting. But I don't know how many opportunities there are for new exchanges coming. You don't see startup exchanges walking through your door every day. And then fast forward to now, 2019, and that's pretty much exactly what we see sitting in this chair almost every other week. We have, particularly in the crypto space these days, there are new crypto exchanges sprouting up every week, it seems like. So let alone AFX and a bunch of other new ventures. So it does seem like all of a sudden, Jim, the startup exchange space is a vibrant area to go after. Who would have ever thought that? You probably didn't, I'm sure, when you first started building Connamara all those years ago.
No, absolutely. This is kind of taken us by surprise, but the crypto space has actually helped a lot helped us in a few ways. Connamara knows capital markets, for one thing. So what you find in a lot of the crypto exchanges, and I'm not trying to generalize, but what you'll find is that they are not built by individuals that understand capital markets. So we've helped a few of the larger exchanges capital marketized, if that's a word. They're
we'll call it a world for today. Why not?
Yeah, they're offering. In other words, we are pretty much experts in fixed protocol. If your viewers, listeners know anything about that, but which is the standard protocol in capital markets, and these crypto exchanges want to look like a full-on capital market compliant exchange. So we've helped them with that, building their APIs out. And our phone last year was ringing off the hook. Probably 3 a day. People wanting to start crypto exchanges, but you got to be a little bit. You got to kind of be selective in those things. Yeah, that's been a great space. But I think what's really happened in this space that's making it a little bit of a growth space is that the technology costs, and this is what we're doing, has gotten down to a point where technology and the cost for technology is not the barrier to entry to creating a market that is more transparent and has better price discovery that you had in the past. And now with us productizing our offering, and there are other competitors out there of ours, but they do have a nice selection so that you can focus on your product and your market and not think about the technology.
No, you're right, because that was an almost insurmountable hurdle 5 or 10 years ago. Someone thought about creating a new exchange. You had to build pretty much the entire ecosystem. You had to build the matching engine. That was usually daunting enough for most people to say, forget about it. We don't want to deal with that, let alone all of the other things that go into building an exchange. So yeah, to be able to come to a vendor like you guys now and say, I want to start up an exchange and be able to essentially outsource the entire package from you guys. I think that's a big shift in just a few years' time, Jim.
Yeah, and really what I find is that we all want things to trade, right? We're looking for new markets to trade, and the more things we have out there, the interrelated markets you can arb across, all the better. As I had mentioned, the technology should not and is not anymore the barrier to entry. It's actually your idea and your marketing. How do you get that first trade up there? And the other thing that's really interesting about the space is that someone would come to you with an idea to create a market, but they may not understand that the individuals or the entities that they're disintermediating by providing all this transparency are actually the people that need to put liquidity on the market. So if someone is thinking about doing this, they need to understand, what their impact is going to be in the current market and whether or not you need the individuals you're going to disintermediate to put that liquidity on the market.
So are you currently powering a number of crypto startup venues? Because I joke, but it's not really much of a joke. Whenever I go to a new industry event or anything like that, it seems like the new, de rigueur business card to get is they are XYZ startup crypto exchange. So it sounds like there's an embarrassment of riches in that field. Are you currently working with a few crypto venues?
Not on the matching engine side itself. As I had mentioned, we're more. They've been coming to us more. We want to change that, of course, but they've come to us more just for our capital markets expertise. That's we understand how markets and how exchanges should work. We understand about liquidity and real liquidity that you need to have on the market.
And obviously, there's a proliferation of venues in the options world these days. I think we're up to 16 now, which is people have different viewpoints on that. We'll leave that very controversial discussion for another day. But I'm curious, have you guys been approached, or is that an area you're looking to maybe expand into? With say, hey, if you want to launch number 17 or number 18 in the options space, come knock on Connamara's door.
We certainly be capable of doing that. Our doors are open to that. We have not been approached at this time, other than there's a quasi-binary option player out there that we have been talking to.
The binary space, like you mentioned, the crypto space. The binary is another one where you kind of have to tread lightly, right?
Yeah,
so we get quite a few inquiries on a daily basis from the world's leading quote unquote binary venue, and usually they're in some non-regulated area, out in the hinterlands of Eastern Europe or South Africa or something like that. So you're right; it's an area fraught with peril, but it is an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's something we might be able to do with sports betting too. But that's becoming more legal too.
Yeah, as those doors continue to get knocked down, that's an area I think a lot of people in the financial markets have been champing at the bit for years now to get after, right? Because it's an area a lot of the broad investing public can wrap their heads around. They can understand that. They want to trade something outside of, betting with their corner bookie or doing some squares around March Madness. They want to do something a little bit more, shall we say, real, legislated, lit on an actual venue that they can actually trade and maybe in a securities account. How nice would that be?
Yeah.
That would be certainly any feelers in that area there, Jim, or you just putting some teasers out?
Just putting some teasers out there, but I'm hoping to see something from that. That would be very interesting to do and very exciting. We get some pretty crazy things that come through our door, like someone wanting to do something with the D1 scholarships. I don't know how that would work or what it would work, but
I didn't even know that was a marketplace that you could.
It's not. They were trying to make one.
I'm sure a lot of people, as we've seen recently, there are bids for getting access to academic institutions. I'm not sure how legal all of that is.
We're not involved in that.
Hey, maybe you could quantify that, put that on an actual exchange there, Jim, and say, here you go. If you want, here's access to Yale, $500,000. Here's this, whatever the level is. Here's your different bids for that. It's been interesting to watch how the evolution of this space that you guys play in. There's been a lot going on over the past year or so. We've had the guys in here who are running the CAT over there from Thesis. That's been a very controversial issue in the space as well. A lot of people are very pro, some people very against the idea of having to do that, having this central repository. It happened to kind of come to light in an unfortunate time when all of a sudden the notion of putting all of everyone's data in one central repository was not exactly the thing anyone wanted. So yeah, it had some issues, a lot of them PR orchestrated along the way. I'm curious, people have different views on this. What are your thoughts on the CAT? Do you think it's a viable prospect for the industry to be able, everyone to kind of come together to this standard and report into this, or maybe do you think it's a bridge too far?
Well, I think as far as CAT's concerned, it's probably necessary to have all the data in one place. And I don't believe it's an unsolvable problem today, given, cloud, with cloud technology and big data sort of things. It's a huge lift, though, as far as technology is concerned. But it's also a big cost onto the reporters, the brokerage firms that need to report this. So generally speaking, generally speaking, I think it should be, something that we should have, and I don't believe it's an impossible problem to solve. It's just a very difficult problem. And maybe we could be solving it the wrong way, where we have, quasi-government organizations involved in it, and maybe the free market should really take this over and figure out, this is what we actually need to do.
Obviously we've been focusing on the exchange and the matching engine side, because that is certainly something unique. We haven't had people come in here really discussing that before. But obviously you guys, as you mentioned, you started in the bespoke services world, and you still operate in that world as well. So if someone wants to come to you, let's say a prop shop or a fund or someone else who wants to be active in that world, and they want the bespoke, soup to nuts type of suite, what do you guys offer in that regard that may be different than what else is out there?
Well, for prop shops particularly, where we've had really great success is not necessarily working with the money-making algorithms that they want to keep close to their vest and in-house. Where we've been able to help proprietary trading firms is taking away all the rest of the work that's not revenue generating away from their internal developers, so the internal developers can work with their traders and generate revenue and generate alpha for the firm. So that's really a great place for us to operate, because of our experience in fixed protocol, which there's a lot of big call for that, but we also then just understand trading enough so that when we're talking with the operations team at a proprietary trading firm or the CTO of a proprietary trading firm, they don't have to explain to us what an option is. They don't have to explain to us what a short sale is, or a drop copy, or a fill. The difference between an order and a trade. We don't have to know that. We're up to speed a lot faster than your normal consulting firm, just as general IT consulting.
Yeah, it speeds up the process a little bit if you understand the language. Anyone could do the coding, right? But understanding the actual issues that go on in the industry, that's a different level.
Yeah, that is, and our roots are start with me, and then everyone else that has come along. My senior management team, my senior architects and engineers involved with me for at least 12 or 13 years, and have all worked on various kinds of risk systems, integrations, we built complete front end to back end order management systems for FCMs, all along the way. So we understand this world and we understand this business.
Well, Jim, we touched on EP3 and building effectively a new startup exchange. We touched on the CAT. We touched on having a bespoke suite of services, front end to back end, and all the different issues there. And we'd like to leave our audience with maybe a little bit of a hint, a little bit of a tease of things to come, or maybe if they want to learn more also about what you guys have going on over there at Connamara Systems, where should they go? What should they do, sir?
Well, they could go to our website, Connamara.com. That's CONNAMARA.com. It's
I'll let you spell that one.
CONNAMARA. It's actually a misspelling of the region in Ireland. But I couldn't get the domain with the correct spelling, so I've got it close enough.
You do what you have to do. And if there's any little bit of a hint, obviously you have EP3 rolling out now, anything people can look forward to, a little bit of a tease of things to come from you guys at Connamara. Now is the time, sir. The floor is yours.
Well, we actually just signed another EP3 client this week, so we're pretty excited about that. So we'll be seeing that rolling out. We have another one in the pipeline. Unfortunately, they all want, a lot of my clients require a lot of confidentiality.
It's just you and I talking here, Jim. There's nobody else ever listening.
Yeah, so one thing I learned back in my early days is how to keep a secret. So we can say that you will be seeing some announcements from us of uptake for EP3. We've gotten a great response for it.
Well, Jim, I'm glad you can come on. This is certainly an interesting area to talk about, and we'll look forward to seeing how these new players and using your matching engine, how they unfold in the marketplace in the coming months.
Great, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Great. Thank you.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/The Options Insider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.